Ladies and gentlemen, now that UFC Fight Night Allen versus Curtis 2 is in the books, it is time to discuss the judging BS that has struck once again surrounding this card. And specifically, I'm talking about the co-main event matchup between Alexander Hernandez and Damon Jackson, and then the main event between Brendan Allen and Chris Curtis. I'm going to give my take on who I thought won the main event and what I mean by this co-main event BS. So we'll start with that. I first want to point out, how in the world can a judge score Alexander Hernandez winning 30-27? There's a judge that gave Alexander Hernandez all 3 rounds over Damon Jackson. This is blasphemy. It's blasphemy. I don't understand how anyone's sitting there watching. Maybe he was, checking in the back. He was scrolling through Instagram. He was checking TikTok. I don't know what was going on. There is no way sitting there watching that fight, even if you are listening to the commentary, there's no reason that Alexander Hernandez won that fight 30-27. And not only that, hell, I think he only won 1 round. I mean, to give him 2 rounds, okay, we would have still been raising some eyebrows. But to give him all 3 rounds, the judge should be investigated immediately. He should be investigated. I don't know how you score it to that. This is a perfect example of why judges should be held accountable when they give decisions like that. They should have to go up there and do a little bit of a press conference like what we see Dana White do. They should have to answer to why they scored something a certain way if it is that bizarre. Damon Jackson clearly, in my opinion, won 2 rounds, right? When we look at the judging criteria and we know what kind of the judges are scoring on, it's very evident that this is a pattern that is continuing, that also has spilled over into the main event, that these judges all seem to have a different understanding of, well, we're just going to judge it based off of who was taking who down, controlling who, and damage. It's like we all need to go off of the rules that are in place that Big John has discussed numerous times on the Weighing In podcast, explaining that the judges are supposed to be following a specific set of criteria. It's clearly not happening. And then it just boils over to the main event. When we look at this matchup between Chris Curtis and Brendan Allen, I'll put the poll up that I put on my community tab. It's very clear a lot of people agree with what I thought as well. I scored this for Chris Curtis, and I'm concerned that the last round, that 5th round, in the final 10-15 seconds, Chris Curtis hurts his leg. And it's like, you heard Paul Felder on the commentary go, well, I think that or not unfortunately, but he's like, I think the judges, when they see that, it looks as if Chris Curtis is hurt. The guy's hurt because he has an injury. He hurt his leg. He was trying to pull his leg out of, out of a situation. Maybe something popped. We don't know exactly what happened, but clearly that should not weigh into the judges deciding if Brendan Allen's going to win the fight. And when we look at the matchup, first of all, it was a great fight. It was a great fight. Chris Curtis had won the first time these guys fought. Brendan Allen has clearly leveled up since the first time they fought. The way Brendan Allen and his ability to be able to take someone's back is absolutely outstanding. He was threatening rear naked chokes almost in every round. It seemed like he was able to get Chris Curtis's back. My issue is, this is not a wrestling match. This isn't a grappling tournament. This is not a jiu-jitsu tournament. This is a fight. And when we're looking at damage and we're looking at, some of the different variables that go into judging a fight, I just think Chris Curtis did more damage, number one. I think he had Brendan Allen, in more danger than what Brendan Allen had Chris Curtis in. Like, Chris Curtis had him on wobbly legs at one point. He had hurt him with a knee. He had been winning a lot of the boxing exchanges. I understand that Brendan Allen was able to take him down. I understand that he was able to control him at times and take his back. But did Chris Curtis not get out of those positions on a pretty consistent basis? Like, when we're looking at this and we're judging, like, I understand that Brendan Allen put Chris Curtis in some danger by taking his back. But was he in a ton of danger? Like, I know it's a bad position, but Chris Curtis consistently was fighting the hands, consistently had control of the situation, and was able to kind of get out of those positions, reverse, get on top, and then end up getting back to his feet. And then Brendan Allen's on his back trying to pull guard, waving him down. Like, guys, this is just a perfect example. And it's just like, in the NFL, when we see these referees, they seem like they can just make up their own rules and judge what is and what isn't pass interference. No, there is a rule. This is the criteria when we are judging fights. Damage accumulated, control time, who was in danger, who wasn't, all these things being factored in. The judges need to start answering for the way that they're scoring these the way that they're scoring these fights, man, because I understand how someone could score it for Brendan Allen. I'll give you that. I understand that it was a good fight. It was a close fight. He did take Chris Curtis's back. But in boxing, it doesn't, I know this isn't boxing, but for example, if you are, say Brendan Allen was winning the entire round. He was winning 4 minutes and 52 seconds of the round. And in the final 8 seconds, Chris Curtis lands a nasty hook and puts him on wobbly legs. In boxing, you're going to win the round, man. You're probably going to win that round. And in MMA, it just seems like just because they like forget that you got hurt and they're like, whoa, but wait a minute, this guy was controlling him on the ground. So when we look at the scorecards here, some of those are indicating that it doesn't matter if Chris Curtis hurt Brendan Allen at all, just because Brendan Allen was able to secure a takedown and essentially do not much with it. He's winning the round just because he was able to take somebody down. Chris Curtis was able to defend. He was never really in a ton of danger. I understand Brendan Allen took his back. He was never in a significant amount of danger. Like, I'll sit here and say that the entire time. Like, guys, I don't understand. Just because someone gets you in a position where they take your back, if someone is fighting the hands, if they have consistently gotten out of those bad positions, reversed the position, ended up on top, and then backed out of their guard and back to the feet to where the ref goes, stands you back up like Mark Smith had done numerous times in the fight, that needs to account for something, in my opinion. That's my take on that. But nonetheless, I scored it for Chris Curtis. I thought Chris Curtis won the fight. It was on short notice. He was very impressive. I like what I saw from both guys because I'll give credit where it's due. Brendan Allen has leveled up. He is a lot better than the first time they went around. I would like to see Brendan Allen take on one of 3 opponents next. I would like to see him against Paulo Costa, maybe a rematch with Sean Strickland, or rebook that Marvin Vettori fight, which I think is most likely. Considering I know Brendan Allen's calling for a title fight. Dude, you're not getting the title fight, man. You were the number 6 ranked guy. Chris Curtis was ranked number 14, took the fight on short notice, and you were getting outpaced by Chris Curtis in a 5-round Apex main event. Like, it's not happening. You're not getting a title fight, in my opinion. But kind of heading back to that Damon Jackson situation. Like, when we look at that, Damon Jackson clearly won 2 rounds, in my opinion. I just don't understand that judge should be held accountable, man. Scoring at 30-27 for Alexander Hernandez. I don't know what I don't know what he was watching. I don't know if he had, I don't know. I have no idea. But I do want to point out before we close out the video, man, there were some bright spots on this card, right? I know a lot of these Apex main events aren't exactly the most interesting thing from time to time, and they do catch a lot of heat and this and that, and there's people that are on both sides of the fence, right? We get some people that are like, I would rather just not have any events if they're going to be that bad. And then there's people that are like, well, I'm glad at least there's an event going on. I'm kind of, on the fence there in between. But I will say this. Ignacio Bahamondes, man, guy's a real deal, man. That was a nasty head kick KO. I'm glad we have somebody in the lightweight division that's kind of an up-and-comer, that's a good striker, has good striking, puts their combinations together well, He's long and rangy for the weight class. I'm glad we have kind of a new name added into the division. I would like to see him on that Sphere card. I think, on the prelims, that would be a great slot for him. Give him a great opportunity to kind of showcase a little bit more. He's someone I think the UFC is going to start kind of getting behind a little bit, right? He's gotten a fun striking. He's got a fun fighting style. I like what I saw from Bahamondes. And then Alex Morono, man, that's a guy that people kind of want to discredit. They kind of want to say he's got a weird fighting style. But Alex Morono going in there against Court McGee. I know Court McGee's not a world beater. He's towards the tail end here. But Morono going out there kind of, showing what he's about. And then Charlie Campbell, that was one of those performances that kind of stood out to me last night. First of all, great job on the mic from Charlie Campbell. Going out there and doing what he did to Trevor Peek. Trevor Peek's a guy that a lot of people like to watch, man. They tune in to watch this guy. He's exciting. And he every time he brings it, man. Brings it every time. And Charlie Campbell was able to go out there and do his thing. I like what I saw from Charlie Campbell. But nonetheless, these judges need to be held accountable. That's the point I'm trying to make here in this video. But I want to hear from you all down in the comments. Who did you score it for? Did you give it to Curtis? Did you give it to Allen? And then what are your thoughts on that Alexander Hernandez getting a 30-27 judges scorecard? But I appreciate you all. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I appreciate you all. See you next time.